Welcome back to We Call The Midwife. We are three superfans, and each week we watch an episode and discuss. Today we're discussing Series 6, Episode 2. I'm Becky.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jen, and a quick reminder that this week's episode deals with some discrimination, complicated birth, a very serious explosion, and severe disability. So if those are topics that you would prefer to skip this time, we understand and hope you join us for the next one. In this week's episode, we meet Derek and Penny Reed. They are both little people, and Penny is pregnant with their first child. Patsy cares for her when she comes to clinic for her first visit, and despite everything being normal in the checkup, Patsy and Dr. Turner are concerned due to the many possible complications. The Reeds are aware and try to juggle hope and fear as they wait for Penny to go into labor. She does have a C-section at the hospital and happily is delivered a healthy baby girl. Our other expectant mother is Jessie Marsh. She is married to George, a dock worker. When Jessie goes into labor and delivers a baby boy, George is at work. A sudden and lethal explosion occurs and George is left blinded and his coworker is killed. Sheila is passing by at the time and she responds immediately with the help of a local woman, Val, formerly an army nurse. George struggles with his injury in the aftermath and he and Jessie have a tough time. An investigation into the explosion has begun, and it's George's testimony that makes a real difference in new regulations for dock workers in future. At Nonnatus House, Sister Ursula continues her campaign of strict rules and austerity and mandates that only care specific to nursing be given to patients and families. The women quickly bend and break this rule, and when Patsy gets a letter from home and finds out her father is dying, on the same day she goes the distance for Mrs. Reed during her delivery, Patsy and Sister Ursula have it out. Patsy takes a leave of absence, and Sister Ursula may have realized the error of her ways. Patsy gets ready to go, and she and Delia make plans for their separation. Phyllis provides subtle and compassionate support to Delia after Patsy leaves, as she now understands the women's relationship.
Girls, this week, I'm telling you now, so it's been a few weeks since we've been recording and we're kind of taking this bit of a break, but obviously we've not watched it for a while for this podcast. And when I saw it was Sister Ursula again, it just reminded me. I was just like, oh, I can't watch it, and I literally had to watch it another day.
We should explain that we have been recording some and we're a little bit out of sequence. So for you guys, it has just been a week, but for us, it's been a few weeks since we've watched an episode.
And I genuinely just shouted F off at the telly and turned it off yesterday. I had to watch it again this morning.
Well, Sister Ursula is just so harsh, and it's like you forget how harsh she is, and then the thing is,
she's a joy vacuum, like no flowers. She's just sucking the joy and the life out of Nonnatus House and me.
Yeah. It's kind of like, like a person who it's like, I'll have one chocolate chip. You know what I mean? And it's just like, what is even the point? You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, yeah, the bag lasts for 47 years and you have a chocolate chip every day, but why bother? You know what I mean? Just don't just make life so terrible. It's not even worth it.
I couldn't stand her gatekeeping
to
Sister Julienne when Sister Julienne was going to ring the mother house.
Yeah,
it's a control thing. I think it's a control thing because obviously Sister Julienne's been in control. I think she's nervous about the fact that Sister Julienne actually did do a good job before. She's been there saying, "Oh yeah, I'll take over," and actually Sister Julienne is really good. But I think she's a bit, what's the word? She's jealous and nervous. I think that they will realize that she's not as good as she's kind of put herself up to be.
Well, this is not sympathy for Sister Ursula, but it is hard to come into an established organization and the former leader of that organization being demoted and yet sticking around after you're supposed to take control. It's like that is a tough dynamic. And
I think I would have sympathy. I think I would have more sympathy if she hadn't been so delighted in telling everyone in front of her, like demoting her in front of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just awful. Also, the bonbons, Sister Monica Joan.
Oh, I love Sister Monica Jones' resistance. I put.
Oh man,
yes. When she actually had one of the bonbons after she handed it away, I was just screaming at the telly, yes.
Well, you know that I'm not her biggest fan, but when she walked over and held her hand out, I was like, "Don't you take that woman's candies away from her! How dare you do that?"
I wasn't Sister Monica Jones' biggest fan, but now I've read the books, I genuinely feel like because she was real and it was based on a real person, I do really like her now.
Well, the books have given me so much more love and respect for her. So much more, because the real woman, even the way Jennifer Worth describes it in the books, she's a real pill, even in real life, but she's also just an icon, a legend. She is the moment, the whole thing. She's just truly on another level. So the character on the show, I do have a lot more love for her because of that. So yeah, defo.
Speaking about not love for someone, should we carry on with Sister Ursula?
Yeah, because she's really on an efficiency drive, isn't she?
Yeah, she's on a tear this week. For sure. And the thing is, she drops the bomb right at lunch when everyone's just trying to like decompress for like a half an hour and like just talk about their patients and like the new music they heard and, you know, the latest bows at, you know, Violet's shop or whatever like that. And it's like, oh, by the way.
Well, also, the way she does it is like she's giving him a compliment. They're all like, oh, yeah, you go above and beyond.
Yeah. And if you watch Nurse Crane, I really think Nurse Crane starts taking it as a compliment. She's like, yes, we do.
Oh, they 100% do, yeah. Sister Winifred's there smiling.
Yeah, you just watch Phyllis's face absolutely fall. And like I was watching the scene and I just thought, oh my God, Phyllis is all of us. Because like for me, when I watched it, I had like you, Al, I had forgotten kind of where we were at in all of this. And then to see her give that feedback and like tell them the new rules about like you only help your patients with nursing, you only do this, you only do that, you know, it's just like Phyllis is just getting like her face, like in her mouth is just like she's just like
that's the way she says though, you are encouraging dependencies that cannot be supported, and then Sister Julienne, like a badass, says we are whatever is needed. Yes, Julienne.
Oh, I know. Well, Sister Julienne, you could tell she was just like, it was like one of those moments where she was like, hold me back, girls, hold me back, I'm going after her, you know, like.
Talking about Nurse Crane's reaction, there's the bit where Sister Ursula says that those who do not earn their place must find another. Nurse Crane actually stops eating at that point because she literally cannot believe what she's hearing.
Yeah,
and she's not the only one.
So
she's definitely
rude.
Not the only one. But I've put here, Ursula isn't mean here, just heartless, ruthless, and she thinks it's for good. So I don't know if she's not mean, she's just heartless and ruthless. What my notes don't even make sense.
This is,
but she is being mean because by saying that if you don't earn your place, like any
100%.
And I think that's very pointed towards Sister Monica Joan. But I think Sister Monica Joan does have a place because she provides a lot of support within Nonnatus House.
And also she's earned that rest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, she has.
Well, I think I don't want to get political here, but it just reminds me of the austerity of the British government, which just did not prove to be good. It just means that people are getting less care with less attention, and it's just meant that it's actually worked out worse.
Well, and we don't really have austerity the same way that you guys do, but you know, obviously the concept is in this country as well. And it's kind of like, you know, people at just like regular, normal, everyday people, you know, who are earning regular salaries walking around being like, oh yeah, you know, you just need to skip that extra Starbucks and like, you know, just like clip coupons and, you know, like tighten your belts and everything. Don't get
the avocado toast, then you can afford a house.
Meanwhile, you know, like a CEO is earning like 300 times what an average worker is, and they're getting bonuses at the end of the year, and you know they're flying private jets and everything, and it's just like, I mean, that's not Sister Ursula for sure, but just to say, like, it's absolutely infuriating. And the thing, and I'll just pivot one little moment. But just to say, spoiler alert, I do think there's a scene upcoming whenever down the road, however many episodes, where we kind of find out that Sister Ursula is like, look, I really am trying to protect the longevity of Nonnatus House because I'm very worried about money, and I'm very worried about like people being able to sustain this kind of schedule, and like it is really grueling work, and like we don't want people like quitting or burning out or whatever. You know, so I mean, I think there's going to be something to come where you kind of see like the method to her madness, but at the same time, like the show has told us many, many times before that, and this is true with a lot of this type of work, like when you were in the community, when you were working with the population, you know what that group needs and you know what helps them thrive. And like Jennifer Worth said in her books, this is a very close-knit community. Everybody pitches in, everybody knows each other, everybody helps each other. And it's that kind of intertwined and enmeshed relationship that goes above and beyond and isn't just kind of clinical procedural, like, you know, process procedures, that is what makes it so successful and what makes it work. And Sister Ursula is just not getting that. And that's what's frustrating, because her mentality is from the mother house or wherever she came from, but she does not understand this work. And she's not in the community the same way all the other women are. So,
but also I feel really bad for Phyllis. So I feel really, really bad for Sister Julienne, but on Sister, she's properly rebelling.
Of course.
But also it's Phyllis I feel bad for, because obviously she's there telling everyone what they have to do. And I feel really bad for her because she's got to implement this harshness, because she says with Sister Winifred and to Patsy, you know, you can't go and do what you want to do, because she wanted to go with Mrs. Reed. We'll talk about her in a minute. Patsy wanted to go with Mrs. Reed, and Winifred wanted to go and help Mrs. Marsh. But Phyllis was saying you can't do that. But Sister Julienne was amazing. She was like, just do it. And Phyllis had to pretend she didn't hear.
I don't think Phyllis was saying don't do it. I think she was saying you understand that this goes against what Sister Ursula.
Well, I think she was saying not saying don't do it, but you know, this is not, you can't technically do it.
But then
Well,
she goes on to say, "Oh, I'm hard of hearing today. I didn't hear what you said."
Exactly. So I feel like
Phyllis is 100% the same way Sister Julienne is. Phyllis is 100% behind it.
Yeah, but technically she said they can't do it, but then she's like, I can't hear it. So she has had to toe the line saying it technically, but obviously she doesn't believe in it.
Well, girls, Phyllis is a real rule follower. I mean, like she loves order and, you know, system and all. I mean, you know, so I mean, the fact that she's struggling with it really does say a lot, because she wants to kind of stay within the lines.
I think Phyllis, when she first came to Poplar, would have made a lot of sense, but I feel like present day Phyllis is totally.
Yeah, she's got more heart to her because she knows the community more. She's part of the team. She's part of Nonnatus House now.
Yeah, well, you girls are just reinforced. Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with both of you. And it's because she now knows what this group is, what this community is like, and she knows what it takes to serve them the way they need to be served. The thing is, this is also one of the poorest communities in the whole of London, maybe even the whole of England, I don't know. But like, when we read the books, the poverty that Jennifer Worth outlines is really staggering. Okay, so let's just not forget, like, we're not talking about like kind of middle class people or people who are kind of doing fine. We're talking about people who are scrimping and saving every single week. I mean, as evidenced by the Marshes after George is injured and everything. We'll get there as well. But just to say, this is a community that needs every bit of support it can get. That's all. Sorry.
Now, before we carry on about Sister Ursula, because there's some bits that go with different parts of the storyline, should we talk about the Reeds?
Yes.
Now, and also, can I just say, you said little people in the
Yes, I did, and I did that for a reason. But you go what you.
I know you did. In England, so in England, it's dwarfism is more. So my only point of reference here, I have done a bit of research today as well, is that Ellie Simmons was on Strictly Come Dancing. And she called it dwarfism. She said that she had dwarfism. And that's kind of the thing. I know in America, little people is more of a term used. That's not a term used in the UK.
Okay. So that is kind of an interesting, like, you know, like cultural divide there. So I Googled this as I was writing the synopsis.
I did as well, because I was like, I'm gonna cause offense in this episode.
Well, we all feel very sensitive that we want to be respectful to, I mean, every character representation throughout the show, but definitely this one. And so I'll just say that in my research, the terms person of short stature, little person, and dwarf are commonly used in the United States to refer to a person with a medical condition called dwarfism. And as according to the Little People of America, many people who experience dwarfism prefer the term little person. So now, if any listeners out there want to give us, you know, extra context or, you know, insight into this, please feel free. But just to say, we are trying to really be respectful to the correct and appropriate terms.
Yeah.
So
I also looked up pregnancy with achondroplasia as well. And it says pregnancy with achondroplasia may be scary. Breathing during the third trimester may not be easy, especially for someone with severe kyphoscoliosis. I have no idea what that is, sorry. Cesarean section is inevitable due to the small pelvis. Premature delivery is common and anaesthesia can be complicated. So really, they got that bang on, which I would expect nothing less from Heidi Thomas, especially since mine and Beck's meeting her.
Yeah.
It's a shock of pleasure of us meeting her.
Yeah. I know. And and the episode that just came out today, which who knows when our listeners are listening to this at this point, but anyways, in the episode about the event that you guys went to with Dr. Turner and Heidi Thomas, Stephen McGann and Heidi Thomas, we emphasized that you guys said that she is such a stickler for historical and medical accuracy.
Yeah.
And the other thing they wanted to say is they always, when there are storylines like this, they always want to be representative of the times, but they also don't want to cause offence.
Yeah, with the language.
They don't want to repeat the offence. So they need to portray as it was in the 60s, but they obviously want to be respectful.
Yeah. So anyway, so Mrs. Reed, what's her name again? Penny Reed, she's pregnant. Her husband Derek, they both have dwarfism. And
can I just say about Derek, I just hated his quiff. I've never hated anything more. It just annoyed me from start to finish.
Well, I knew you'd hate. And do you know when I saw him, I thought Becky's going to hate that, and I don't know why. I didn't even know you hated Teddy Boy hair.
Well, it's full like grease lightning hair. You know what I mean? It's like
it's Teddy Boy hair
on the back and everything.
It wasn't just a quiff at the front. It went all the way around his head and kind of created a bowl effect.
It was like a helmet, wasn't it?
Yeah. I just couldn't stand it, and I just couldn't. I couldn't get on board with this storyline because of that quiff. But I have to say, they're the cutest baby.
Oh, little girl. But anyway,
hang
on, we're getting ahead. So
Sorry.
Mrs. Reed comes to the clinic with her husband, but then she tells him to bugger off. So she goes in with Patsy. So she goes in with Patsy, and they've never had anyone with dwarfism before at the clinic, so they didn't really know what to expect. So she went to speak to Dr. Turner about it as well, because obviously she wanted to do the best for a patient. And Dr. Turner basically said to prepare Mrs. Reed for every outcome. But then they find out that her last GP basically told her to terminate a pregnancy and said it's not good. He had prepared her.
He really scared her.
Exactly.
And is that why she changed doctors?
Yeah.
Right.
He'd been so mean to her.
Exactly.
Well, maybe not so mean, but he'd been really harsh. Like, that's what I thought.
But also, Patsy, but there was a moment where they spoke about the fact that Patsy was trying to prepare her, but also not letting in the joy. And then Patsy gave her the baby leaflets to let in the joy, like actually let her have hope.
Yeah.
And that made me cry.
Well, also because Mrs. Reed was a seamstress. So when she was sewing the baby outfit and then she felt she had to hide it from Patsy, I was like, oh.
I know.
No. I literally wrote, Patsy is so good to them. And then a few minutes later, I wrote, Patsy is so good. And I just, Patsy just...
Also, can we just talk about Patsy's hair? That is the shade I think I want to dye my hair.
Oh!
You're going to do it?
Really?
Well, do you remember at uni I had similar hair?
It wasn't that.
Well, maybe, no, because obviously I won't dye it blonde and then do it that colour. I'd just do it over my normal brown.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what? I'll do
Patsy's
it
hair is like fully...
I see you.
Oh, yes, let's do that. Bexy's going to do it for me when we see each other.
Okay, so you're just going to put kind of that colour on top of your normal hair and that's it.
Yeah, although I've got a few greys now, so it might show bright red on some bits.
Well, I was just going to say, because Patsy's hair, I love it, and she looks beautiful. She's a vision. But her hair is like, I mean, it's orange. It's not red. It's like a bright orange.
Oh, no, I think it's like a red. Maybe it's a resolution on my telly. I'll double check.
Oh, I mean, it's like fully, I mean, to me, when I just watched it last night, I was like, that's the most ginger orange.
Oh, no, it looks quite dark red on mine.
Oh, no, it's not red on mine. Anyway.
No, her natural hair colour's brown.
Oh, right. So
we're very similar in that respect.
You're basically Patsy. But she's one of those people who can have any hair color. Like,
yes,
I've seen her like.
That's why we're not similar.
No, I'm not either. But I think I've seen her with like blonde hair. I think.
Yeah.
She
had blonde hair in this. When we first met her in male surgical.
Oh, that's right. Oh yeah. Anyway, sorry. Okay, diversion. But
so anyway, let's finish the Mrs. Reed storyline. So Mrs. Reed is being prepared for. They're all worried about it. Anyway, she goes into labour early. Her waters break. She panics. She rings the surgery. Now I will say that Sister Ursula's actual more not caring approach was actually quite good. She was like, "Don't worry, we'll get you there." She was quite no panic. Don't worry about it. She was like, "Yes, we'll get there. We'll get the surgery sorted right now. Okay."
She's like, "Calm down." Bye-bye. And then.
So she's sent to the hospital. She goes to the hospital. She has a surgery now. Patsy, badass Patsy, was like, "I'm not leaving her. I'm going straight to her." And Sister Julienne and Phyllis were like, "Yes, go for it." Dead proud.
Do it, girl. Do it.
Yeah. Consequences be damned. If I learned one thing from Nonnatus, from you, is that we do for our patients. And then Phyllis was like, "Good on her," to Sister Julienne.
Sister Julienne never looked so proud as she did in that moment.
But
she was like, "My baby, is flying free."
So she went to the hospital, and she was such a comfort to Mrs. Reed as well. And it was so lovely. And she had a little girl, didn't she?
Oh, wait.
She did, Bella.
Lest we not forget that, like, we peeped Delia at the hospital because she's still working there. And so Delia and Patsy connected at the hospital, and Delia was allowed to go in because she's doing surgical, and she was allowed to go in and witness the birth, make sure everything was okay. And she did. And then she came out and she told Patsy, and she's like, "Look, she did deliver the baby. It seemed okay, but I didn't get to see. So I really don't know what's going on." And so then Patsy was like, "I'm going to go to the nursery and find out. And then I want to give the news to Mrs. Reed, because if it's bad news, I want her to have it come from me so I can give it to her, like, like lovingly and caring for her style."
Yeah, because she's had a bad time with doctors.
Right, exactly. And they treated her just like...
It's the really awful doctors at the hospital, isn't it?
Well, it's that whole thing of like...
Men, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like, here we have a prima gravida, achondroplasia presenting with a blah, blah, blah. And it's like they're literally talking about just like a cabinet or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they never refer to these people as if they're like real humans who have lives and everything.
Yeah, just conditioned.
Or even that they can... It's like they don't even really need the person to be there. They're just...
Dehumanize them.
Yeah.
Anyway, like the baby was perfect. And as Patsy said, sorry for the term, normal sized.
Well, and then Mrs. Reed goes, "Do you mean she's big?" And I thought,
I'd love that.
Oh, that's like reframe it. Go for it.
Yeah, and I love Delia telling the medical students to F off.
Yes.
Oh, I know. She was like, not now. And then the guy's like, well, so and so will hear about this. And she's like, I really don't give two flying bleeps about who you tell about it. Like,
but also, can we talk about the lovely moment between Patsy and Mrs. Reed straight after she had the baby and she told her that it was a healthy baby?
Yeah.
She was talking about family and she was saying, you know, because she's not a dwarf, will she be ashamed of us? Will she connect with us? Will we be okay? Will we? And she was just like, you know, what I learned from she really opened up about her childhood, about being in a prisoner of war camp.
Yeah.
And saying that, you know, I learned that all anyone cares really is that their mum's there. And then she said she really opened up to her saying about her mum dying. And then she said she kind of closed herself off to her dad. And it was just
also
moving.
Patsy's still avoiding the letters that are arriving thick and fast from Hong Kong.
Well, exactly. But that made her call her dad's house.
Yeah.
And it was just so moving. We'll talk about more about that because there's a Sister Monica Joan moment as well I want to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so moving.
It's really beautiful. I mean, there's a lot of moments that happen on the show where the patient, you know, helps the main character figure something out or realize something or change their mind about something or whatever. And it's just I love those scenes because honestly, I mean, they're, you know, I mean, just from purely like a viewing standpoint and everything, they're just really such a good reminder that, like, you know, we can get something powerful or substantive or meaningful or whatever it is from really anywhere, you know. And if we just like open ourselves up, you know, these like pearls of wisdom and truth can come, you know, from any source, you know.
Well,
even
from
people that we're trying to help,
that,
they can help us, you know.
Yeah, and from that strength, she actually then spoke to her father or a father's maid or whatever, or
nurse or care. Yeah.
But she did that, but then she basically quit to Ursula and gave her the money and was like, you know, oh, save you having to dock my wages, here's a refund. Really angry, saying that dad was dying.
Well,
she took the bloody money.
Sorry, here's the thing though. So just because, well, I know everyone's already watched the episode. Let's listen to this, but just to say, so Patsy like just had this really painful conversation with her dad and her dad's maid or nurse or whoever it was, and she's like,
well, she's summoned up the courage to open the letter, hasn't she?
Yeah, and she knows that he's dying from the letter, but then she calls because she wants to check in and kind of make arrangements and things like that. And so she's just got off the phone after this really, really painful phone call, and she's walking down the hall kind of like, you know, lost in thought and everything. And Sister Ursula comes out of her office and she starts reprimanding her about going to Mrs. Reed, and she says, oh, you know that's against the rules, so like I'm gonna have to dock your wages. And then she says, and then Patsy gives her the whole thing about, I will never go, like, I know I have to go above and beyond for my patients, like that's the kind of professional I want to be. And she's like, oh, and by the way, like, here, don't worry about docking my wages, like here's a refund. And she puts some money on the table, and then she says, I guess, you know, something because of my dying father, and then walks away. And Sister Ursula, for the first time, like genuinely like blanches, and she just looks like, oh, funny. Crap, I really might have overstepped the line here, you know, just like I think I'm in the right all the time, but like maybe I don't actually know everything, and she doesn't. So
and I think Sister Ursula I think there was a moment of regret there because she didn't understand the context of everything.
Yeah, but she shouldn't have taken the money. I'm still against her.
Well, but we don't know if she took the money to return it to Patsy.
Or to do something else.
Much credence there,
or to do something else like for Nonnatus, or, you know,
maybe she's going to give it to the Marshes because they're struggling.
Maybe, hopefully.
She's not. No, she's absolutely not.
Never going to.
I mean, I think it was good for Sister Ursula I mean, I really liked the way that scene was written, and I thought that was really well done, because the thing is, she clearly thinks she knows best and she knows all, and there's a lot she absolutely does not understand, and that to me was a big like wake up call scene for that. Like, oh, you think you know what's happening? You don't know what's happening. Like, why don't you approach things from not just wanting to be like, you know, like hard on everybody and like punitive and like punish people for everything, but like, if someone's doing something, why don't you stop and think like, why are they doing it? Or ask them, why are you doing this? Or what's going on? Or how are you doing? Or whatever like that, you know? Yeah.
Just to finish up Mrs. Reed, the baby group was held at her flat.
Oh, girls.
So happy.
Oh, girls. Oh, my goodness.
All the prams in the hall.
Oh, and then her at the center with all the mums and babies around her. And
with all the new clients. All her
yeah, I was going to say, she's going to be raking it in.
Oh my goodness, girls! I've just been very hormonal the past couple days, for a while. And anyways, just to say, this episode, I started crying so quick, and I didn't stop. I mean,
it reminded me of my baby group. So I did baby yoga with my daughter, And she was the
I
only
remember
girl.
that.
There was 11 boys and one girl. I don't understand what happened around my area, but it was just boys being born. And we did baby yoga, and some of the mums were gorgeous and lovely, but some of the mums were really weird and hoity. And I remember we were doing this game, and someone was like, "Oh, your little princess will have a pic of any of these princes." And I just went, "Lesbian." They all thought I was really weird, apart from like a few of them who they were my friends. They were my friends from my yoga group. That's who I knew were my people.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I
Just
was so
randomly.
happy for them. And just we stopped ourselves from saying it, but the Reed's baby was absolutely so gorgeous. Like she's
just the cutest.
and
To be fair,
sweetest.
I think both babies this week were well cute.
No, I think the Reed's baby pipped it. if no offense to the other baby, but
Even with the dad's bad haircut, you give the Reed's baby a heads up on
speaking of Derek with his bad haircut, he was so worried about his wife.
Yeah.
And he was just like, you might not come home, either of you. And that's why he was avoiding doing the pram. And it just made me so sad for him.
Derek was a very sweet, sweet husband. He was
Apart
really
from his hair, we get it, Bex. We get it.
I couldn't connect with him.
Right, should we go on to the Marshes now?
Yes, sure.
Did you recognise Jessie Marsh, by the way, either of you?
Of course.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, but no. Who was she?
Bex?
Princess Anne.
From what?
The Crown.
Oh, girls. You are exactly right. How in the world did I miss that? Oh my God. Yes, you are exactly right.
Now, also, the George Marsh,
geez.
the whole George Marsh storyline also brought us a new nurse. Spoiler alert, maybe call the midwife, future person.
Yeah.
Valerie Dyer. Valerie Dyer working behind the bar.
I know. And I had really forgotten, not forgotten about Val, but forgotten like how she came into all of this and when she came into it. And when I saw her, I was like, huh. And then when she said she's an army nurse and you see Sister Julianne's eyes light up, I was just like, oh, okay, this, but I just, love Val.
When I saw her in that bar at the first scene, I was like, yay!
Well, and Val, I'm not going to say, but Val has a really amazing story arc. So just like peep that for future. But
so and I've watched it and I'm still like, oh my God, does she?
You're the one who was like, are they married? Even though we spoke about it on this podcast 25 times about Stephen McGann.
You'll have to tell me off air. What?
When I will tell you.
We will do, Bex, and you'll be like, oh yeah, this massive storyline that's huge.
It's like takes place over multiple seasons.
So Jessie and George Marsh, they're struggling a little bit financially, but he's getting some shifts on the dock.
Yeah. And he's like,
their mother,
ships are coming in all week, ma'am.
Yeah, and her mum has got that's brilliant accent, Jen.
I always have to do it because I know it's so bad.
So her mum's got arthritis and lives with them, and she's like, I'm sorry, love, I'd really love to help more. She's like, you're doing ace, you're not a bird and all this. So anyway, Jessie is very, very heavily pregnant, and she actually gives birth with Sister Winifred. Now, did you two notice how confident Sister Winifred was? And how she seemed to really love it as well, really capable, having a great time being a midwife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, she gives birth to a little boy. Now. Yeah. So she gives birth to a little boy called Bobby. And despite what Bex says, really cute.
Bobby. It was so cute.
It always reminds me of Greyfriars Bobby.
Well, also not this is a very small detail, but not to jump ahead. But this episode with baby, what's the Reed's baby's name? Jay something?
Bella.
Oh, oops. Okay, Bella. And then Bobby, they both were not exclusively in knitwear. Like they both had baby clothes that were like fabric baby clothes. And I thought that was interesting that Mrs. Reed was a seamstress and that she was like, making clothes or anything, because this is kind of one of the first times we haven't seen only knitwear baby clothes for babies.
That is true.
Like the scene where Mrs. Marsh goes to George in the hospital and she's holding Bobby in her hands. He has these adorable big elasticized leg bloomers that his little legs are just poking out of, and then he has
his legs are tiny.
Oh my God, it's like their bodies are so hilarious because they're still all in cloth diapers, and like the scene and the way she's giving him a bottle as George is getting wheeled up, and like the way that she's holding him. His butt and tummy are just so massive, like a cantaloupe, and then he just got these little sticky legs that are hanging over her arms. And girls, when I tell you, it was a balm to my soul to see that little baby body, like so cute and just so wacky, like just draped over his mother's arms.
It's mad though, like because obviously my daughter didn't have terry towel and nappies, but her legs, they were like Kermit the Frogs. When you see his legs off camera. Just had these really skinny long legs.
I know. My nephews were the same. Like they were really tiny when they first came home, and then they started growing. But like you get these like little, like their bodies were kind of like like potatoes, and then they just have these little toothpick arms and legs coming out while they were kind of like bulking up and gaining weight. And it was less stark when they were in clothes, but whenever they were just in like a diaper or like a onesie, it was like the most wild thing. It was so funny. Oh, babies. Anyway.
And then the legs got so fat she couldn't even fit in trousers. Anyway.
Oh God, I know. Busting.
So should we explain how George is injured? So George is getting casual work down at the docks. He's working with Arthur Pilbury. Arthur Pilbury is struggling.
I love that name.
Now we've never met Arthur before this.
No,
right?
he's just been brought in. He's
okay.
The sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
So they're working down at the docks. Sheila is down there because she's running a smallpox vaccination. Was it smallpox?
Yep, smallpox.
Vaccination drive. So Arthur and George both go and get their vaccinations. Sheila is then leaving and stops to vomit into her handkerchief.
I'd just do it on the floor.
I would have just done it on the floor because you don't know if that handkerchief is going to be sufficient.
No,
to be honest, I'd have done it. Well, if I was down at the docks, I probably would have just done it on the floor. I might have just done it in my handbag.
I'd have just done it on the street. I have no decorum. I've done it before, just been sick on the street. I'd do it again.
I would be sick on the street. I will say, when I lived in New York City, there were a couple of times where I felt ill, and there's a lot of trash cans, and that's the other thing you could look around for is a trash can to throw up into.
But just as she pauses, I don't mean to be gross,
but you know.
Just as and they're handling whatever they're handling is flammable because it says flammable all across the sacks.
Oh, see, I missed that actually. Yeah. I really missed that part of it. Like I didn't get any warning signs.
Well, when I first started watching it, so Arthur Pilbury, just really quick, was saying how he's a bit older, and he was saying how his lungs aren't used to it because it was quite powdery what they were handling as well.
Yeah, and I thought that was going to be the problem.
Yeah, well, same. That's exactly
that it was going to be like, oh, I have like tuberculosis or black lung or something now.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Bex, carry on.
Material. Sorry, Bex.
Well, I was just going to say there was an explosion. So
a massive one.
Really massive. Yeah.
Also, can I just say, I loved the fire alarm that was all handle. I think you'd like one of them, Bex.
Like spin it around and around.
Like a wind up, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God Sheila and Valerie were there.
Valerie dashes out to the pub because here's the explosion.
Well, I was a bit annoyed at Sheila not thinking about her safety at all because she just kind of rushed in there, not thinking about the fact that she's pregnant into a smoky building, not knowing there's chemicals or anything.
But you know, Sheila is so, she's so like, she's heart for everyone. She'll always.
Well, she was fine from it, which is good, but I was annoyed at her if she wasn't. I would have been annoyed.
Yeah. Well, I love the doctor, like when they talk to Tim about the fact that Sheila's pregnant, like Sheila and Dr. Patrick tell Tim that she's gonna have a baby, and he's like, "Oh, come on, Mom! Like Dad won't let you pick up a teacup, and you've been like barfing into a handkerchief, and like barely looked at like eating 8,000 biscuits and everything." I'm like, "Oh, well, like yeah, she's running into burning buildings, but Dr. Turner won't let her like lift a teacup."
It did make me laugh, but then he was like, "Good," and I don't want to know any other details. It made me
he's like, "It's disgusting enough that you've gotten pregnant from marriage, you know."
Do you think Dr. Turner helps that? Because when they talk about, we've digressed a bit, when they talk about the fact that they're going to start telling people, because Sheila's finally, we think she's getting over the morning sickness, but then she vomits into a handkerchief.
Which, by the way, the handkerchief is gone at that point. So, like, I hope she just threw it away because you're not going to, like...
She threw it in the fire.
Oh, good. Let it burn up and be done.
No, I don't know. They talk about the fact that before they start telling everyone, they're going to have to, they want the children to know. Angela's not going to know what on earth's going on.
Oh, no clue.
But it's the way Dr. Turner says, well, Timothy will definitely understand. I was just like, that's a bit much.
I think
he's not wrong. He's a teenage lad. Like, he will know.
It was the way he said it, though. I was just a bit like, oh.
Yeah, but he's not wrong. Teenage lads are perverts. Like, it's just...
yeah, they definitely are. But the thing that's funny is, like, Tim, and like, God bless him. I love Tim so much. But he's, like, I saw him in this episode, and I was like, oh, like, he's really starting to go into the awkward stage, you know? Like, he's a very kind of, like, gangly kid. And, just the way that he's just all arms and legs. And
As Phyllis says, Jen, he's shooting up like rhubarb.
He is shooting up like rhubarb, but he's also like, he's a very like cute kid, but he's definitely kind of he's kind of in that awkward, like everything's kind of growing in odd like ways. So anyway.
Right, so we got a bit off topic there, but let's go back to Mrs. Marsh and Mr. Marsh. So poor Mrs. Marsh giving birth to a beautiful baby boy and then getting the news that day that her husband's basically been in a massive explosion. They don't know how he is. He can't see. And then she went to see him at the hospital. So you've just had a baby. You can barely walk anyway. She's had to go to the hospital to see him.
Yeah.
And it was just such a moving scene because he's really upset and can't, at least he's, lucid and talking and stuff a bit. But
Al, how did you do with his injuries, his burn injuries?
It just looks so sore.
Oh, well, it just had it just was red and it kind of seemed so like wet and gooey. And I was
all right.
That was the worst thing about it. Was
right. Just for the context, everyone who doesn't know, I am so squeamish, like genuinely would faint if that was in real life. I have fainted in hospitals before.
Yeah, like even watching it, you probably felt a bit ill, didn't you?
I had to close my eyes a bit, I'm not gonna lie. So kudos to the makeup department.
When he kissed the baby, I was a bit like, oh, is he gonna have left a bit behind?
Well, what I felt was when Val was helping him like at the explosion and he was like all messed up and his hands were all black and red and everything. The makeup department did a really good job, but I was like, oh, it was just like, I mean, I really felt for him, but it also was kind of disgusting, and I was just like, oh, this is really I just
intense. Want to go back to the scene when his wife first met him afterwards for the first time after not seeing him. She just had a baby, all this. I do wish that her and Sister Winifred had a bit of diplomacy. They would be saying, the baby's so beautiful, Bobby, you won't believe it. He's so beautiful. You've got a beautiful baby. Have some diplomacy. You can't fucking see.
That you like potentially will never see in your life.
Yeah. Let's not talk about how beautiful. Like, he sounds lovely.
Well, the other one was when they said something about, like, oh, his eyes, because he has the bandages and everything. And she's like, I fell in love with those eyes. Is that any better? Am I doing any better?
I've got another impression of her. I love the bones of you. The very heart of you, George.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, girls, actually, sorry, I'm just going to get really serious because as I said, I was like sobbing through this whole, freaking episode. Okay. When she says to him, she says, like, okay, he's really having a hard time, admittedly. I mean, he's really struggling with like, all this stuff like that. And he's been
very
pushing
north
her
as
away.
well, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, he's truly suffering, and it's like right in the immediate aftermath of this horrible explosion. But he's like really pushing her away. He's like, I don't want to meet my baby like this. Get away from me. Like, I'm disgusting. He's really having a hard time. And she's really trying to like be there for him, support him, like make him feel kind of the quote normal and everything like that. And she's brought the baby and they have kind of a fight and everything. And then she says, she makes this really impassioned speech about how she just like loves him so much. And she says, I'll take you deaf, broke, or blind. I love the bones of you. Like, and then she goes on and she just says, she's like, listen, like we can go through anything as long as we're together. Like, you mean the world to me. Like, you, me, and our baby are all I care about. Like, she just is she's like so rock solid. And like, honestly, I just absolutely adore her. And he does kind of ultimately, I mean, he comes around, he surely does, but it takes a second, and I'm very sympathetic for why it does too. But man, she's such a legend.
There's two things that annoyed me about this storyline. Like, I loved it was amazing, but also as part of this storyline, the coroner's court writes to Sheila and to Val that they have to go to the court to basically talk about Arthur Pilbury's death, because poor Arthur Pilbury didn't make it.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where Sister Winifred said this, that it's always the dark before the dawn, but there is always a dawn. Well, Winifred, you don't know actually that everything's going to be all right. You don't know, because they've got literally
also,
got no
it was
income.
an unfortunate. I mean, I know that is the phraseology of like when things are at their worst, but the dark before the dawn was an unfortunate.
Oh yeah, like an unfortunate pun choice, or
because the power went off just as she was saying it.
Well, no, but I just meant there's going to be no dawn for George because he's not going to get his eyesight back.
No, exactly. That's what I mean. No, I just think, exactly. He's never going to see a dawn again. You're right. And also, there's another bit where Sheila goes to see George and she's pressuring him to go to court, and I just think, if anyone's got an excuse to not go, mate, it's him. He's really having a bad time at the moment. He can't see. I don't know if you've noticed, but he's just been in a massive explosion. Maybe just let him go off not going to court.
I will say, if anyone has an excuse not to go, it's him. That's true. But also, if anyone like can't get out of it, it's also him in a way, because the thing is, Sheila just went and she saw what happened when she went and how dismissive everyone was of her ultimately. And I think she was like, oh, the only person that's like really going to break through is this man who is so visibly harmed by all of this, and then his impassioned plea that will come when he testifies.
Can we just say we were side about how awful and dismissive that judge was?
Oh, he was terrible. He was horrible. He was like, oh yeah, anyways, well, that's like too bad, okay, bye. And like, I mean, he just really was.
But also the way he was like, get this man help, you know, not asking George if he wanted any help to get to just get this man help, just so
Right.
ugh.
Well, I don't, maybe I'm imagining this because again, I was like so emotional when I was watching it, but I feel like when he walks into the courtroom and then he like smells Jesse's perfume and he's like, Jesse, and then she reaches out, she's like, I'm here and everything. And he's like, oh, I feel like they were having this like really beautiful moment and the magistrate,
just like, get to your seat.
He's like, hurry up, please, or something like that. He was just so callous.
Let's get this on with immediate effect. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh God, you horrible man!" You.
Well, I will say the coroner did. So they basically said that Arthur Pilbury's Arthur Pilbury's death wasn't an accident. That was the verdict. But I do love that the coroner, despite absolutely nixing Sheila's pleas when she was in the dock, he has said that he was going to write and recommend to the dock. It's basically about having fresh water, about having a log about who's going to be there.
Yeah.
And also glasses for people who are working with toxic
chemicals.
Yeah, basically.
Now wait, coroner?
Just a recommendation.
Coroner? What?
Yeah.
So he's the main guy that was like in judgment of all of this, like listening to the thing you do?
Yeah.
Listening to the testimony?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because coroner really only means one thing for me anyway. So we wouldn't, in our terms, well, I mean, I know that's what he's called in the show, but like for us, it would have been like a judge or a counselor or like a, you know.
We have like a coroner's court. So you have someone who sits.
Oh, because it's like a post-mortem kind of a thing after something has happened? Is that kind of what you're getting the...
If there's any sort of investigation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
there's always an inquest into what's happened.
It has to be a death. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we wouldn't use the term coroner, but I think we all know like what that role is. So, and what that was representing. So,
yeah.
Okay.
So that was a happy ending for future workers on the dock.
Yeah, doesn't help George, but
George kind of got, but they showed them they kind of, he didn't get his eyesight back, but they showed them kind of getting on with life a bit more. He was getting more adaptive to it, and obviously welcoming baby Bobby, because at first he kind of rejected him, didn't want to see him because he didn't want him to see him in that state. Even though, newsflash, George, he wouldn't know. Huh?
Baby
How
Bobby.
are they going to cope?
Baking extra bread, Bex. They didn't really explain it.
Well, and
because he was still in hospital. When they, I mean, obviously he did come to terms with it and he did accept Bobby, but he was still in hospital at that stage because they were still sat outside on the bench.
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, let's create a nice narrative that they got a massive payout from the government.
I'll tell you, this is my like stupid brain or whatever. Like they took the bandages off and then the doctor takes away the little like pads over his eyes and he lifts him up and he's like, anything, son? And George is like, I got nothing. And like it said something like that. And I was like, oh no, he's gonna get it back. Like in my mind, I was like, no, he's gonna get his eyesight back. Like he just needs a few more eye drops and like some ointments and like they're gonna come back. Don't worry about it, babes. Like you'll be like not fine maybe, but like you'll have some vision that you can use to like navigate daily life. I just immediately was like, no, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be just fine. Everything's gonna work out.
Also, Sister Winifred was trying to get a basket of food together for them. Yeah. And Sister Julienne was like, oh, there's some biscuits here. Everyone needs biscuits because people will come around for cups of tea. And, you know, she was really trying to help. And then Ursula came in trying to stop it. I was so angry. So angry. Oh, my God.
You're literally going to take food out of people's mouths because you just want to be mean.
Yeah. And surely it's not as a nun, you know, husbanding your resources. You'd think, well, hang on, these people need it. I'm a nun. Let's give it to them.
And Sister Julienne says, like, maybe you haven't been here long enough, but you don't even know how much people leave on our doorstep to help us out, to give us stuff. You know, like everything, like people are so generous in return. So we need to return the favor. Like, this is what we do for people. And she was like, now.
Just say, honestly, I nearly turned the episode off. So I've got to do this. God. I've got to actually do this.
Girls, did we ever have a joke about like baby Bobby or like Bobby baby? Is that from this? Is that something from something else in my brain? Baby Bobby baby. I've really lost it.
Well,
you can edit that out. Sorry.
Other people who've listened to the podcast may actually know what she's referring to because we can't remember.
My brain is really on another planet right now. So I feel like there's something in my brain is clicking about like baby Bobby, and I don't remember if it's like a joke that I have with my sister or it's like something else or whatever. I don't really remember. But anyway, when you said baby Bobby, in my head it just clicked to something.
So anyway, I would say it all ended happily, but it didn't. We don't actually know how it ended, but it ended with George kind of being a bit more,
feeling better a little bit,
coming around to the circumstances a bit more.
Him and
also he's got the best supportive wife for that situation.
Well, exactly. They have each other. They have each other, and you know that's all they need.
Yeah, like the Bon Jovi say. We've got each other, and that's enough for love. They're halfway there, living on a prayer. Anyway, so
I was like, what are the lyrics to that song? I couldn't come up with them. I was like hearing it in my brain, but it was just kind of like the.
Well, it was your complete blank look at me that I've carried on being like halfway there, living on a prayer.
I knew what you were going for, but I just like so slow right now.
Now, should we talk about Patsy and Delia?
Yes, they're like
so
in full love relationship mode.
Yeah, so we've talked briefly about the fact. So we've actually gone to the bones of the issue, really, about the fact that she rang her dad. But at the first, she was avoiding even reading the letter because she just wanted to stay with Delia.
Yeah,
and also Phyllis Spider coming out of her room.
Yeah.
Yes. Phyllis Spider moment. But I thought they were being a bit dramatic about the fact that she had to go to Hong Kong for a short time. But if you think about it, the last time they were separated was when Delia then had her accident, didn't she?
Exactly. So it nearly broke them last time. They never thought they'd actually, well, Patsy especially never thought they'd get back together because obviously Delia couldn't even remember her. And this is the greatest love of her life. This is when they still love each other and like each other.
Yeah. I mean, they were right to be scared because, I mean, the thing is also, like, Pembrokeshire is way not as far away as Hong Kong. You know what I mean? Like letters and everything are going to take so long. Like, they're not going to be able to talk on the phone, really. Like, I mean,
it's not like they can FaceTime.
Right, exactly. Like, I mean,
poor Patsy's got to book passage from Southampton. That's going to take her an age.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, that sounds awful. Absolutely awful. No wonder she was cleaning so hard because she cleans when she's stressed, doesn't she?
Oh my God, I wish I could do that.
Same.
I wish I ever wanted to clean anything ever. I mean, I do it when I have to, but I never want to. Ugh.
I keep watching videos on TikTok and seeing all these people cleaning loads and decorating loads, and I'm thinking that is what I need to do in my life. But instead, I'm watching videos of people do it.
They speed it up, and it just looks so quick and simple. It's never that quick and simple.
They're just like, oh, anyways, I just did it. Okay, now it doesn't look so nice, and you're like, oh, that took an hour, so. Yeah, it looks great, but
I've lost 3 hours of my life watching videos of other people do it, but I could have actually been doing something.
Well, you know what it's like? It's like meal prep when people are like, okay, it's Sunday, like watch me meal prep. And then it's like, oh, I did this, boop, 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 boop. And then I did that, boop, 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 boop. And then I'm going to make this, boop, boop. And then like 2 minutes into the video, they're like, okay, and that's all my meals for the week. Okay, bye. And it's like, everything's packaged up and everything, and the fridge is clean. And I'm just like, I mean, I'm the cook in our house and I love to cook, but I'm like, oh my God.
Anyway. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
But then Sister Monica Joan read a letter.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Beck, did that drive you crazy? Because I know how you feel about people reading other people's mail.
No, I would have totally done that.
Tom Hereford looking at the address on a letter to Sister Julian was a bridge too far.
I think it was wrong.
I think I would have probably done it.
I would not have done it.
Although
she did give really good advice. She did give really good advice because I thought Patsy was going to be really angry at it, but Patsy just kind of, I think because Patsy was avoiding it and was a bit relieved in a way. And Monica Jones was like, I'm going to
confess something to you both off air. I can't confess it publicly, but I'll confess it privately.
Oh my goodness, this is exciting.
Oh, okay, we're going to have to like.
Just to say, I would have read the letter. I would have done exactly what Sister Monica Jane did.
Well, I feel like Patsy wasn't annoyed. I feel like Sister Monica Joan kind of knew that, which is why she did it, because Patsy didn't have a shout at her, which I thought she may have done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And give Sister Monica Joan the credit. Like, she was really, she came in, as she's now done a bunch of times with people at different, kind of crisis points, where she really comes in and she just says the right thing. She does the right thing. She kind of offers that like loving support that is needed, and it was great. And Sister Monica Joan did that with Sister Julian too.
Yeah, and with Sister Evangelina. She's absolutely the person you need in a crisis.
And Cynthia and like Jenny and so many of them. Yeah, she really is good in a pinch, I'll say that much.
So Patsy goes to Hong Kong to go and see her dad, and Delia and her have this big crying goodbye, and everyone's all like,
but then they can't because Fred walks in on them and it's just awkward.
I know. And Phyllis has obviously seen her come out of a room. So then Phyllis quotes a poem to Delia, and it just made
my God, this bit got me, because I was
already sobbing, but I sobbed again. Sorry.
Same. Have either of you actually got the poem there?
No, I just
neither I. No. Anyway.
Well, the thing is, I know I would not do a good job of like trying to imbue
it was
it with the
beautiful. I
same.
haven't got it either, but it was beautiful. Watch it, rewatch it to
Yeah.
see that.
But
But
she does say to her that the pain it costs to love is always worth it.
exactly.
And it's just what Delia needs to hear right then.
It
Yeah.
really is. It
And
really
the way Phyllis does it as well, because like she sees them coming out of the bedroom.
They don't know that.
No, they don't know that she's seen
saw.
her, that she's seen them, and it's actually right at the beginning of the episode. So like kind of all this time is passing, and you're like, is anything gonna happen? Is Phyllis gonna say anything to anybody? Either of them or whatever. And she never does. But then even the way that Phyllis sees Delia like kind of walking down the hall, just like kind of looking a bit like just down in the dumps, and they just kind of started having a small talk conversation about Phyllis's Spanish class, and then she quotes this beautiful poem, and then she says that line about the price of love is always worth paying, and and then she says something else about like if if you ever need me, or like I'm around, or like like please borrow the book so you can read more of these poems, maybe it'll bring you something, but like dot dot dot.
And Delia's acting there was amazing because she just had like a single tear coming down.
Yeah, they were just like, it was a few tears like streaming down her face, and then Phyllis like in this, and it was so wonderful that she said this, because it was one of those times where someone's trying to like say a lot without saying a lot, but then also like not trying to upset you. And so then she says, I would really like it if you would respect a 2-week return policy. Delia just like laughs, and then the tears just fall down again. And it's just one of those beautiful moments where just the tone was exactly perfectly spot on. Like it wasn't, she was being as supportive and compassionate to Delia as you could ever want, but not outing her, not like confronting her in any kind of a way, not kind of being like, oh, by the way, I know why you're so sad, nothing like that. It was just so perfectly done.
It was the way she was like, if I may. She's just gorgeous. It was just beautiful.
Oh, Phyllis,
it was.
Oh my god, Phyllis and Delia, just absolute legends in that scene. Oh,
can we talk about Barbara as well, with the scene where she's trying to do to the expectant mothers, she's trying to do like a bit of a class to them, and there's a life drawing class going on and across the hall.
I didn't have this scene. This was
you're joking.
But I have to say, it was a bit like, we don't normally get this on Call The Midwife.
She's trying to say, Jen, it was a bit racy. There was a man. He wasn't naked. He was just, his torso was naked.
But he was quite, I think the kids say hench these days.
Hench. Oh, I've not heard that.
He was ripped.
Ooh, a bit of a.
So he was. So there was on one side of the hall there was a group doing like a life drawing class, and he was just stood there. And then Barbara's the other side of the hall trying to give a talk, and she's getting really flustered because he's really good looking. And everyone's
all the mums, expectant mums, are just like giving him side glances.
Did Tom come in and like, excuse me?
No, but I was expecting that as well. But also Barbara was speaking about what they need to do to prepare, and she spoke about babies' traveling outfits.
Traveling outfits.
It just made me absolutely lol.
Well,
and this is also a scene. Well, this is also a scene where we found out that Mrs. Reed was a seamstress, and everyone's like, "Oh!" So basically, Barbara was getting her clients. I loved it.
Oh, okay. So see, that was more implied, not explicit in my version of the episode.
Yeah. So yeah,
that's awesome. I love that. Well, listen, Barbara's a hot-blooded, American. She's not American. I'm a hot-blooded young woman who's a nurse, but she's a woman and she's got womanly feelings.
WOMAN. Yeah.
Oh yes. So she knows what she sees when she sees it. I mean, her and Tom have gotten hot and heavy on the show before.
Well, thrill cream. Do you know what I mean?
Hey.
Yeah.
Should we do heroes and zeros?
Yes.
Sure.
Beck, you go first.
My hero is Nurse Crane.
Nice.
But the way she spoke to Delia and just said exactly what needed to be said and offered exactly the right amount of comfort, and was just totally the perfect amount of comfort.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, you said it right.
But also the hilarious way she asked if they could put a 2-week limit on the loan. It was just, I just loved that, everything about that scene. And then my zero is going to be Derek's quiff. Because I cannot express how much this bothered me.
Hello there. I love the combo. I love it.
Right. Jen?
No, I have to go last. Sorry.
My hero this week is going to be Sister Julienne. Basically, the exact same reason she chose Nurse Crane. It was between them two. She's rebelling. She's amazing. She's not letting the heart go of Nonnatus, and I absolutely applaud her for that. Love it so much. My zero is Sister Ursula. I hate her. I nearly didn't watch the episode because of her. I genuinely was going to watch it yesterday and basically was like, oh, I cannot. I just was not in the mood for her yesterday, so I had to really pluck up the courage today. So Sister Ursula is my zero. I hate her.
I'm here for that. Okay, my hero is going to be Patsy.
Yeah.
I feel like she was a real standout. I was actually waiting to see if one of you guys was going to say that because I felt like she was really a star.
To be fair, we've chosen the best three heroes this week. Well done.
Yeah, I think there's really the kind of the obvious standouts. You know, Patsy was just on fire this week. I mean, she's dealing with personal stuff, you know, with her family, with Delia. She was like going above and beyond for Mrs. Reed, like being such a champion for her as always, like, you know, like hair on point, you know, like nursing on point, like romance, the whole thing. She was just really like just going for it. And it's hard to make like these really big choices in life about, you know, what to do, where to go, and, you know, standing up to your boss and everything like that. I mean, she just, you know, Patsy. And actually, I do genuinely really feel that Patsy was one of the first people to kind of break through to Sister Ursula. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in next week's episodes and stuff like that. We'll have to wait and see. But just to say, I appreciated that she kind of gave Sister Ursula the what for. And so I say, go off, Patsy. And I'm just going to go for my zero. Well, I really want to do Sister Ursula, but I don't know if we need to do, well, okay, double zero for Sister Ursula. Sorry. She just really is so terrible. It. And you know what? Honestly, like, she needs to step off, okay? Like, she comes in here thinking she knows everything. She doesn't know everything, okay? And maybe what you need to do in a leadership or other role is, like, stop for just a second and listen and see what's going on before you just start talking and spewing. And maybe, like, that should be a first order of business, okay? Because she clearly doesn't know what's what, and it's causing people harm. And I don't like that. That's zero.
And she took the money. Now, I've got another thing really quick.
You don't know if she's going to return it, but yes, she did take it.
Well, I don't think she will.
I've
got another thing on the name Ursula, right? Now, the only Ursulas that I've ever had any encounter with, I've never met one in real life, I'm going to say that, right? But do you think it was done on purpose? Because there's Ursula from Little Mermaid who's awful.
Yeah.
The only other Ursula I know is sister of Phoebe in Friends, and she was awful.
I think it's probably more of a religious context.
Well, I will say this. I know my mom has a friend who's a very old lady named Ursula.
Oh.
And she's nice.
That's so you're going to say she's evil.
No, sorry. I was going to say I don't really know her. Now, from what I've heard from my mom, she's a very kind of like specific personality. You know, she kind of is like kind of a little bit likes what she likes, but nice lady and everything. She actually, just as a quick side note, had a really interesting personal story because she was single for like, I don't know, like into like her 50s, maybe even early 60s. And then she met like an ex-British naval captain or something like that, and who was a little bit older than her, but not much. But then they fell in love and got married. And then they did all these cool things together. And the last, then they were married for like 10 or 15 years. And then he passed away sadly, but like she's still alive, I believe. But they like did all these trips. They like went on like these boat trips. They did all this cool stuff. And I just was like, it's never too late. And that, anyways, I just thought that was really cool. She lives in England. She was an English lady. And then the other Ursula I know about is the author Ursula Le Guin, which that's the only other Ursula that I put with that name.
Do you know if she was good or bad?
Well, I mean, I think she's good, but
oh well, that's fine. So my point is invalid. Now, I just want to talk about something else about my point being invalid. Lovely.
No, wait, I've just looked at Ursula is like the little female bear.
Oh, like Ursa Major or Minor, maybe? Is that like
maybe?
Oh, yeah, like the constellation? Because isn't Ursa Major like the little bear? This constellation, I think. Wow.
So, go.
I don't think it's blanket. If there's any Ursulas listening.
No, it was just a silly point. Anyway, speaking of the fact that I'm factually wrong, we'll go on to another bit about me being factually wrong. We were talking, we've had a message from Laura Wonderling. Thank you so much for messaging in, Laura, about our episode when me and Bex went on a lovely little jaunt to Gloucester. And we spoke about Stephen and Heidi having children and stuff. And I said I thought they had two, because I'm sure I saw two on the photo. I was wrong, apparently. They had one child. They had fertility problems, and Heidi almost died after he was born. I highly recommend his book, Flesh and Blood. So interesting, and tells a story a lot with his family history back to the 1800s through their medical history. So, thank you, Laura Wonderling. That's another book for us to read later on. That sounds good.
Yeah, we've got a little book club going. Love that.
Hey, we're always willing to say when we're wrong on this podcast, which is quite a lot.
It's quite a lot. That's why we're so willing, because it's so frequent.
We're not proud. And on that note of not being proud, we shall see you next week. We are going to record series 6, episode 3. But in the meantime, please like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, Threads, Facebook. We're in every Facebook group going. Interact with us on Instagram. We love it. I read all your messages. You can email us at recallthemidwifepod@gmail.com. We love hearing from you.
What were you going to say, Beck?
I just said X, the new Twitter.
Oh, I always say Twitter instead of X, don't I? Yeah, X. So,
it's like everybody's going to still call it Twitter, so you weren't wrong, Bex.
Yeah. So, that's amazing. So, follow us on all that, and we will do our very best to get back to you. Also, send us your address if you want Jenn or Bex to send you some correspondence.
Open. That, do it in a private message so it can stay discreet.
Oh, yeah, don't put it on the main page. That would be absolute madness.
Send us a DM on Instagram or something like that.
And if you or your husband have an amazing quiff, please send us the pictures, because Becky really is a big fan.
Yeah, exactly. Also, if anybody wants, I feel like I hear about this stuff, but if you guys want, us to send, a novelty birthday card to, your best friend or whatever on your behalf, we'll do it. We'll be a singogram, but for, cards from a obscure podcast. We'll do whatever. You know what I mean?
We'll deliver a birthday card. We'll deliver a birthday cake. Bex's going to post it. Bacon.
I'm not gonna overpromise, but I'm just gonna say, if you listeners want to get creative, we'll try to meet you, at in the middle. So
anyway, thank you so much for listening. That got weird.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't have any time to do any of this. I don't know why I've made a big thing about it.
And also, as you'll know now from the episode where we did meet Heidi and Stephen McGann, I'll just be really awkward.
On that note, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.